Yes! Yes! Oh, yes! Oh my goodness. Welcome to my reading of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Chapter 1. A few miles south of Soledad, the Salinas River drops in close to the hillside bank and runs deep and green. The water is warm too, for it has slipped twinkling over the yellow sands in the sunlight before reaching the narrow pool. On one side of the river, the golden foothill slopes curve up to the strong and rocky Galiban Mountains. But on the valley side, the water is lined with trees, willows fresh and green with every spring, carrying in their lower leaf junctures with the debris of the winter's flooding, and sycamores with mottled white recumbent limbs and branches that arch over the pool. Over the sandy bank under the trees, the leaves lie deep and so crisp that a lizard makes a great skittering if he runs among them. Rabbits come out of the brush to sit on the sand in the evening, and the damp flats are covered with the night tracks of coons and with the spread of pads of dogs from the ranches, and with the split wedge tracks of deer that come to drink in the dark. There is a path through the willows and among the sycamores, a path beaten hard by boys coming down from the ranches to swim in the deep pool, and beaten hard by tramps who come wearily down from the highway in the evening to jungle up near water. In front of the low horizontal limb of a giant sycamore, there is an ash pile made by many fires. The limb is worn smooth by men who have sat on it. Evening of a hot day started the little wind into moving the leaves. The shade climbed up the hills toward the top. On the sandbanks, the rabbits sat quietly as little grey sculptured stones. And then, from the direction of the state's highway, came the sound of footsteps on the crisp sycamore leaves. The rabbits hurried noiselessly for cover. A stilted heron laboured up into the air and pounded downriver. For a moment the place was lifeless, and then two men emerged from the path and came into the opening by the green pool. They had walked in single file down the path, and even in the open one stayed behind the other. Both were dressed in denim trousers and in denim coats with brass buttons. Both wore black, shapeless hats, and both carried tight blanket rolls slung over their shoulders. The first man was small and quick, dark of face, with restless eyes and sharp, strong features. Every part of him was defined: small, strong hands, slender arms, a thin and bony nose. Behind him walked his opposite, a huge man, shapeless of face, with large, pale eyes, with wide, sloping shoulders, and he walked heavily, dragging his feet a little, the way a bear drags his paws. His arm did not swing at his sides, but hung loosely. The first man stopped short in the clearing, and the follower nearly ran over him. He took off his hat and wiped the sweatband with his forefinger and snapped the moisture off. His huge companion dropped his blanket and flung himself down and drank from the surface of the green pool, drank with long gulps, snorting into the water like a horse. The small man stepped nervously behind him. "Lenny!" he said sharply. Lenny, for the love of God's sakes, don't drink so much. Lenny continued to snort into the pool. The small man leaned over and shook him by the shoulder. Lenny, you're gonna be sick like you was last night. Lenny dipped his whole head under, hat and all, and then he sat up on the bank and his hat dripped down on his blue coat and ran down his back. That's good, he said. You drink some, George. You take a good big drink. He smiled happily. George unslung his bindle and dropped it gently on the bank. I ain't sure it's good water, he said. Looks kinda scummy. Lenny dabbled his big paw in the water and wriggled his fingers so the water rose in little splashes, rings widened across the pool to the other side and came back again. Lenny watched them go. Look, George, look what I done. George knelt beside the pool and drank from his hands with quick scoops. Tastes alright, he admitted. Don't really seem to be running, though. You never ought to drink water when it ain't running, Lenny, he said hopelessly. You drink out of a gutter if you was thirsty. He threw a scoop of water into his face and rubbed it about with his hand, under his chin and around the back of his neck. Then he replaced his hat, pushed himself back from the river, drew his knees and embraced them. Lenny, who had been watching, imitated George exactly. He pushed himself back, drew up his knees, and embraced them, looking over to George to see whether he had done it just right. He pulled his hat down a little more over his eyes, the way George's hat was. George stared morosely at the water, the rims of his eyes red with the sun glare. He said angrily, We could as just well as rode clear to the ranch if that bastard bus driver knew what we was talking about. Just a little stretch down the highway, he says. Just a little stretch. God damn near 4 miles, that's what it was. Didn't want to stop at the ranch gate, that's what. Too goddamn lazy to pull up. Wonder he isn't too damn good to stop in a Soledad at all. Kicks out and says, just a little stretch down the road. I bet it was more than 4 miles. Damn hot day. Lenny looked timidly over him. George? Yeah, what you want? Where are we going, George? The little man jerked down at the brim of his hat and scowled over at Lenny. So you forgot that already, did you? I gotta tell you again, do I? Jesus Christ, you're a crazy bastard. I forgot, Lenny said softly. I don't know why I've started doing voices. I tried not to forget. Honest to God, I did, George. Okay. I'll tell you again. I ain't got nothing to do. Might just as well spend my time telling you things and then you forget 'em and I tell you 'em again. Tried and tried, said Lenny, but it didn't do no good. I remember about the rabbits, George. The hell with the rabbits. That's all you ever can remember is them rabbits. Okay, now you listen and this time you gotta remember so we don't get in no trouble. You remember sitting in that gutter on Howard Street and watching that blackboard? Lenny's face broke into a delighted smile. Why, sure, George. I remember that. But what'd we do then? I remember some girls come by and you say, the hell with what I says. You remember about us going into Murray and Reddy's and they gave us work cats and bus tickets? Oh, sure, George. I remember that now. His, his hands went quickly into his side coat pockets. He said gently, George, I ain't got mine. I must have lost it. He looked down at the ground in despair. You never had none, you crazy bastard. I got both of 'em here. Think I'd let you carry your own work guard? Lenny grinned with relief. I thought I put it in my side pocket. His hand went into the pocket again. George looked sharply at him. And what did you take out of that pocket? Oh, there go the voices. Ain't a thing in my pocket, Lenny said cleverly. I know there ain't. You got it in your hand. What you got in your hand, hiding it? I ain't got nothing, George. Honest. Come on, give it here. Lenny held his closed hand away from George's direction. It's only a mouse, George. A mouse? A live mouse? Uh-huh. Just a dead mouse, George. I didn't kill it, honest. I found it. I found it dead. Give it here, said George. Oh, leave me have it, George. Give it here. Oh, well, I'm not going to bother with these voices. Lenny's closed hand slowly obeyed. George took the mouse and threw it across the pool to the other side among the brush. What do you want of a dead mouse, anyway? I could pet it with my thumb while we walked along, said Lenny. Well, you ain't petting no mice while you walk with me. You remember where we're going now? Lenny looked startled and then embarrassed. He hid his face against his knees. I forgot again. Jesus Christ, George said resignedly. Well, look, we're going to work on a ranch like the one we'd come from up north. Up north? In Weed. Oh sure, I remember. In Weed. That ranch we're going to is right down there, about a quarter mile. We're gonna walk in and see the boss. Now look, I'll give him the work tickets, but you ain't gonna say a word. You just stand there and you don't say nothing. If he finds out what a crazy... I'm reading of Mice and Men. It's for the video. It's only the chapter. I thought I'd make the video interesting by reading out the first chapter of Mice and Men to keep viewer attention. Where was I? If he finds out what a crazy bastard you are, then you won't get no job. But if he sees your work before he hears your talk, we're set. You got that? Sure, George. Sure, I got it. Okay. Now, when do we go and see the boss? What you gonna do? I... Lenny thought. His face grew tight with thought. I ain't gonna say nothing. Just gonna stand there. Good boy, that's swell. You say that over 2-3 times so you won't forget it. Lenny droned to himself softly. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. Okay, said George, and you ain't gonna do no bad things like you done in Weed neither. Lenny looked puzzled. Like I done in Weed? Oh, so you forgot that too, did you? Well, I ain't gonna remind you, fear you do it again. A light of understanding broke on Lenny's face. They run us out of Weed, he exploded triumphantly. Run us out hell, said George disgustedly. We run, they was looking for us but they didn't catch us. Lenny giggled happily. I didn't forget that, you bet. George lay back on the stand and crossed his hands over his head, and Lenny imitated him. Raising his head to see whether he was doing it right. God, you're in a lot of trouble, said George. I could get along so easy and nice if I didn't have you on my tail. I could live so easy and maybe have a girl. For a minute, Lenny lay quiet, and then he said, hopefully, we're gonna work on a ranch, George. Alright, you got that, but we're gonna sleep here 'cause I got a reason. The day was going fast now. Only the tops of the Gabilan mountains flamed with the light of the sun that had gone from the valley. A water snake slipped along the pool, its head held up like a little periscope. The reeds jerked slightly in the current. Far off towards the highway, a man shouted something, and another man shouted back. The sycamore limbs rustled under the little wind that had died immediately. George, why ain't we going to the ranch and get some supper? They got supper at the ranch. George rolled on his side. No reason at all for you. I like it here. Tomorrow we're gonna go to the work. I see thrashing machines on the way down. That means we'll be bucking grain bags, busting a gut. Tonight I'm gonna lay right here and look up. I like it. Lenny got up on his knees and looked down at George. Ain't we gonna have no supper? Sure we are. If you gather up some dead willow sticks. I got a can of beans in my bindle. You get a fire ready. I'll give you a match when you get the sticks together. Then I'll heat the beans and have supper. Lenny said, I like my beans with ketchup. Well, we ain't got no ketchup. You go get wood, and don't you fool around. It'll be dark before long. Lenny lumbered his feet and disappeared into the brush. George lay where he was and whistled softly to himself. There were sounds of splashings down the river, in the direction Lenny had taken. George stopped whistling and listened. Poor bastard, he said softly, and then went on whistling again. In a moment, Lenny came crashing back through the brush. He carried one small willow stick in his hand. George sat up. All right, he said, brusquely. Give me that mouse. But Lenny made an elaborate pantomime of innocence. What mouse, George? I ain't got no mouse. George held out his hand. Come on, give it to me. You ain't putting nothing over. Lenny hesitated, but backed away, looked wildly at the brush line, as though he contemplated running for his freedom. George said coldly, You gonna give me that mouse, or do I have to sock you? Give you what, George? You know goddamn well what. I want that mouse. Lenny reluctantly reached into his pocket. His voice broke a little. I don't know why I can't keep it. It ain't nobody's mouse. I didn't steal it. I found it lying right beside the road. George's hand remained outstretched imperiously. Slowly, like a terrier who doesn't want to bring a ball to its master, Lenny approached, drew back, approached again. George snapped his fingers sharply, and at the sound, Lenny laid the mouse in his hand. I wasn't doing nothing bad with it, George, just stroking it. George stood up and threw the mouse as far as he could into the darkening brush, and then he stepped to the pool and washed his hands. You crazy fool! Don't you think I would see your feet was wet when you went in the way to get it? He heard Lenny's whimpering cry and wheeled about, blubbering like a baby. Jesus Christ, a big guy like you! Lenny's lip quivered and tears started in his eyes. Oh, Lenny. George put his hand on Lenny's shoulder. I ain't taking it away just for meanness. That mouse ain't fresh, Lenny. And besides, you broke it petting it. You'll get another mouse that's fresh, and I'll let you keep it a little while. Lenny sat down on the ground and hung his head dejectedly. I don't know why there's no mouse. I remember a lady used to give 'em to me, every one she got, but that lady ain't here. George scoffed. A lady, huh? Don't even remember who that lady was. That was your own Aunt Clara, and she stopped giving these to you. You always killed 'em. Lenny looked sadly up at him. They were so little, he said apologetically. I'd pet them, and pretty soon they bit my fingers, and I pinched their heads a little, and then they was dead, because they were so little. I wished we'd get the rabbits pretty soon, George. They ain't so little. The hell with the rabbits. And you ain't to be trusted with no live mice. Your Aunt Clara gave you a rubber mouse, and you wouldn't have naught to do with it. It wasn't no good to pet, said Lenny. The flames of the sunset lifted from the mountain tops, and dusk came into the valley, and a half darkness came in among the willows and the sycamores. A big carp rose to the surface of the pool, gulped air, and then sank mysteriously into the dark water again, leaving widening rings on the water. Overhead, the leaves whisked again, and the little puffs of willow cotton blew down and landed on the pool's surface. You gonna get that wood? George demanded. Oh, there go the voices. There's plenty right up against the back of that sycamore. Floodwater wood. Now you go get it. Lenny went behind the tree and brought out a litter of dried leaves and twigs. He threw them in a heap on the old ash pile and went for more and more. It was almost night now. A dove's wings whistled over the water. George walked to the fire pile and lighted the dry leaves. The flame cracked up among the twigs and fell to work. George undid his bindle and brought out 3 cans of beans. He stood them about the fire, close in against the blaze, but not quite touching the flame. There's enough beans for 4 men, George said. Lenny watched him from over the fire. He said patiently, I like 'em with ketchup. But you ain't got any, George exploded. Whatever he got, ain't got, that's what you want. God almighty, if I was alone I could live so easy. I could go get a working job, no trouble. No mess at all. And when the end of the month come, I would take my $50 and go into town and get whatever I want. Why, I could stay in a cat house all night. I could eat any place I want, hotel or any place, and order any damn thing I could think of. And I could do that all every damn month. Get a gallon of whiskey, or sit in the pool room and play cards or shoot pool. Nanny leant and looked over the fire at angry George, and Lenny's face was drawn with terror. And what I got? George went furiously. I got you. You can't keep a job, and you lose me every job I get. Just keep me shoving all over the country all the time. And that ain't the worst. You get in trouble, you do bad things, and I gotta get you out. His voice rose nearly to a shout. You crazy son of a bitch! You keep me in the hot water all the time. He took on the elaborate manner of little girls when they are mimicking one another. Just wanted to feel that girl's dress. Just wanted to pet it like it was a mouse. Well, how the hell does she know you just wanted to feel her dress? She jerks back and you hold on to it like it was a mouse. She yells and we gotta hide in an irrigation ditch all day with guys looking for us. And we gotta sneak out in the dark and get out of the country. All the time, something like that. All the time. I wish I could put you in a cage about a million miles and let you have fun. His anger left him suddenly, and he looked down the fire at Lenny's anguished face and looked ashamedly at the flames. It was quite dark now, but the fire lighted over the trunks of the trees and the curving branches overhead. Lenny crawled slowly and cautiously around the fire until he was close to George. He sat back on his heels. George turned the bean can so that another side faced the fire. He pretended to be unaware of Lenny so close behind him. George? Very softly. No answer. George! What you want? I was only fooling, George. I don't want no ketchup. I would eat no ketchup if it was right here beside me. If it was here, you could have some. But I wouldn't eat none, George. I'd leave it all for you. You could cover your beans with it, and I wouldn't touch none of it. George still said morosely at the fire. When I think of the swell time I could have without you, I go nuts. I'll never get no peace. Lenny still knelt. He looked off into the darkness across the river. George, you want I should go away and leave you alone? Where the hell could you go? Well, I could. I could go off into the hills there. Some place I'd find a cave. Yeah? How'd you eat? You ain't got no sense enough to find something to eat. I'll find things, George. I don't need no nice food with ketchup.
and I'd lay out in the sun and nobody'd hurt me. And if I found a mouse, I could keep it. No one would take me away from me. George looked quickly and searchingly at him. I've been mean, ain't I? If you don't want me, I can go off to the hills and find a cave. I can just go away any time. No, look, I was just fooling, George. Lenny. 'Cause I want you to stay with me. Trouble with mice is you always kill 'em. He paused. Tell you what I'll do, Lenny. First chance I get it, I'll give you a pup. Maybe you wouldn't kill it. That'd be better than mice, and you could pet it harder. Lenny avoided the bait. He'd sensed his advantage. If you don't want me, you only just gotta say so, and I'll go off in those hills right there. Right there up in those hills and live by myself. And I won't get no mice stole from me. George said, I want you to stay with me, Lenny. Jesus Christ. Somebody'd shoot you for a coyote if you was by yourself. No, you staying with me. Your Aunt Clara wouldn't like you when you're off by yourself, even if she is dead. Lenny spoke carefully. Tell me, like you done before. Tell you what, about the rabbits. George snapped. You ain't gonna put nothing over on me. Lenny pleaded. Come on, George. Tell me, please, George, like you done before. You get a kick out of that, don't you? All right, I'll tell you, George, and then we'll eat our supper. George's voice became deeper. He repeated his words rhythmically as though he'd said them many times before. Guys like us that work on ranches are the loneliest guys in the world. They got no family. They don't belong to no place. They come to the ranch and work up a stake and they go into town and blow their stake. And the first thing you know, they're pounding their tail on some other ranch. They ain't got nothing to look ahead to. Lenny was delighted. That's it, that's it. Now tell us how it was with us. George rinse us. George runs on. With us, it ain't like that. We got a future. We got someone to talk to that gives a damn about us. We don't just have to sit in no bar room blowing our jack because we ain't got no place else to go. If them other guys get in jail, they can rot for anyone who gives a damn. But not us. Lenny broke in. But not us. And why? Because I got you to look after me. And I got me to look after you. And that's why. He laughed delightedly. Go on now, George. You got it by heart. You can do it yourself. No, you. I forget some of the things. Tell about how it's gonna be. Okay. Someday we're gonna get the jack together and we're gonna have a little house and a couple of acres and a cow and some pigs and live off the federal land. Letty shouted. And have rabbits. Go on, George. Tell about what we're gonna do in the garden when the weather. Oh God. And about the rabbits and the cages, and about the rain in the winter and the stove, and how thick the cream and the milk like you can hardly cut it. Tell about that, George. Why don't you do it yourself? You know all of it. No, you tell it. It ain't the same if I tell it. Go on, George. How to get attend to the rabbits? Well, said George, we'll have a big vegetable garden, and a rabbit hutch and chickens. When it rains in the winter, we'll just say hell with it going to work, and we'll build a fire and a stove and sit it around and listen to the rain coming down on the roof. Nuts! He took out his bucket knife. I ain't got time for no more. He drove his knife through the top of one of the bean cans, sawed out the top, and passed the can to Lenny. Then he opened a second can. From his side pocket, he brought two spoons and passed one of them to Lenny. They sat by the fire and filled their mouth with beans and chewed mightily. A few beans slipped out the side of Lenny's mouth. George gestured with the spoon. What you gonna say tomorrow when the boss asks you questions? Lenny stopped chewing and swallowed. His face was concentrated. I ain't gonna say a word. Good boy, that's fine, Lenny. Maybe you're getting better. When we get the couple of acres, I can lend you turn to the rabbits all night. Especially if you remember I was good as that. Lenny chuckled with pride. I can remember, he said. George motioned with his spoon again. Look, Lenny, I want you to look around here. You can remember this place, can't you? The ranch is about a quarter of a mile up that way. Just follow the river. Sure, said Lenny. I can remember this. Didn't I remember about not gonna say a word? Of course you did. Well, look, Lenny. If you just happen to get in trouble like you always done before, I want you to come right up here and hide in the brush. Hide in the brush, said Lenny softly. Hide in the brush till I come for you. Can you remember that? Sure I can, George. Hide in the brush till you come. But you ain't gonna let in no trouble, 'cause if you do, I won't let you tend the rabbits. He threw his empty bean can off into the brush. I won't get in no trouble, George. I ain't gonna say a word. Okay, bring your bindle over here by the fire. It's gonna be nice sleeping here, looking up in the leaves. Don't build up no more fire. We let her die down. They made their beds on the sand, and as the blaze dropped from the fire, the sphere of light grew smaller. The curling branches disappeared, and only a faint glimmer showed where the tree trunks were. From the darkness, Lenny called, "George, you asleep?" "No, what you want?" "Let's have different color rabbits, George." "Sure we will," George said sleepily. "Red and blue and green rabbits, Lenny. Millions of 'em." "Furry ones too, George, like I seen at the fair in Sacramento." "Sure, furry ones. 'Cause I can just as well go away, George, and live in a cave." "You can just as well go to hell," said George. "Shut up now." The red light dimmed on the coals. Up the hill from the river a coyote yammered, and a dog answered from the other side of the stream. The sycamore leaves whispered in a little night breeze. And that concludes chapter 1 of Mice and Men. That concludes the reading. I'm not doing that again, that was horrible. What am I gonna get in the chest? Well done, mate. Oh my god. Save my data. I'm actually knackered. But it's like completely taking my nerves away. If you are watching this video, or still watching this video, I applaud you, because that must have been really boring. Oh wow, why is it taking so long to save? Right, let's just end the video. I've got nothing else to do. Thank you.